All right, moving on with cameras. So I had mentioned this before that smartphone or mobile filmmaking, I should say, really is going to, in my opinion anyway, is going to start eating into the action camera market. But action cameras still have their place because they're still...
The action cameras are fighting back.
Yeah, because they're extremely rugged, and
Yes.
people are most likely to put these cameras in situations where they're too afraid to put their smartphones. So that, and because they're just a dedicated camera, it makes certain processes a lot easier than using your smartphone. So I think there's still a place for them. And GoPro has a new one.
Yeah, the Hero 12 Black.
Right.
Which basically, for the first time, they have time code built in natively to the GoPros. I know for the past couple years, I believe you could do the I don't know if it's GoPro Labs or the
yeah, it was GoPro Labs because
GoPro Labs, and then you could you
Right.
could do time code through that, but that was a third party, and you had to
Right.
upload it, download it, and put.
And you had to
software on.
actually face the camera at a time code being generated off the internet, and you had to take all your cameras to look at the same.
QR codes and all that.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
but now GoPro has finally listened and put it in natively.
Right. So now all your GoPros are on the exact same time code, and they'll sync up to like the new Rode Wireless, which also has time code, so you can you can be synced across the board. I don't know how plug and play that system is with GoPro, I'll be honest, but I have a feeling that people are going to get creative with that. But the fact that it supports time code is huge because it does make your production life so much easier.
Yeah.
Especially for the editor when they have to sync up a lot of cameras.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that takes a lot of time if you got to look at claps and all that. Instead of having a program just go click and all
you're
the
ready to
times
go,
are synced. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're doing.
Oh, and they also have 10-bit now, right?
Yeah, well, they've had 10-bit since the,
11?
I believe the 11. Yes,
11, right.
which is good. Yes, again, it's still. Well, I don't know if it's true 10-bit or not. I believe it's true 10-bit.
I would
But it's
imagine
still-
it is at this point in time.
At this point, it should be because the sensors are small, but they're.
Right.
I mean, they're good enough quality now. Or the technology has come along far
Right.
enough to where you can get.
And
the
they're
good image.
HDR, and I believe
Yeah.
HDR requires at least 10 bits. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Of course, they have the new Hyper Smooth. The Verizon, the Horizons. Oh, I hope not. We're moving away from mobile filmmaking for a second here. The Horizon stabilization is bonkers. It is so weird, but you can take the camera and twist it almost a full 180 degrees.
Well, no, you can go full 360.
Full 360.
And the horizon stays level.
It's so
Like,
weird.
I don't know. I
seems
don't
so
know how
wrong.
it does that, but the image stays level
Mhm.
as you rotate the camera
Yeah.
a full 360 degrees.
It's so
Never had
bonkers, which is actually one of the reasons why the GoPros actually have I think it's a square sensor instead of right.
So with
for
the
that
11,
very
they
reason,
have
it's for
the,
stabilization.
Well, I don't know if they had. I think they had it before on the 10.
They have it on
as
the 10.
well.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the 11, they released the 8x7 sensor, which is nice because you basically no longer have to.
Oh, that's
if you
right.
want to
You
do
can
vertical shooting,
video. Yeah.
you no longer have to tilt the camera 90 degrees to get vertical. You can have it stay in whatever mount you have, and you can get 9:16 or 16:9 without losing any resolution because it is a true square sensor.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing, especially in the FPV world where we use almost exclusively GoPros to film things.
Right.
It's nice to be able to shoot
And this is
one
actually
time.
a good example of where you'd want to use a GoPro and not your
Yeah,
smartphone.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, people have done it before.
They've done it. They've done it. It's totally possible.
Yeah.
But I think they would rather, spend how much are we talking about here? Like $400?
Yeah, about $300-400.
Versus
yeah.
$1,600.
Yeah, exactly. And you go to Best
and
Buy.
it's just
you,
a little
you
bit
smash
more.
one of these.
Yeah.
I get Geek Squad. I go to Best Buy. They give me a new one.
Right.
Just like that.
Yeah.
With a phone, that's a little bit harder to do.
It's a little bit harder. There's a lot more glass there too.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
But yeah, the 8x7 sensor, the 27 megapixel photos that you can pull. Well, the 27 megapixel photos with the photo mode, and then the 24.7 megapixel photos that you can pull from the video stills, which is also good because I've had GoPros. The first one I got, I think, was back in 2012 or 13. And I've never used the photo mode on GoPros. I've only exclusively used the video mode. I think I've tried to.
Yeah, I was like, I like that it's there, but I've never personally used it.
Yeah, I've never used it. I always, if I want to pull a still, I'm just pulling it from the video file because you never know when with the GoPro, it's you pretty much set it and forget it.
Right.
Basically, until you're ready, until it's done. So you never know when you need to exactly snap a photo or whatever if it's just a set and forget it type thing.
And I think if you're doing action photos, you're probably going to be using a mirrorless camera anyway. They're just better for that kind of stills.
Yeah.
DSLRs are still around, but the EVFs on modern mirrorless cameras are so good nowadays that it's almost not necessary anymore.
But yeah, so like I said, action cameras are starting to fight back.
They are, and they're really good.
Market,
underwater to 33 feet, so another advantage over a smartphone. You don't need to do anything, especially with these new GoPros that they've had, I think, since the 10, where you don't need a housing anymore. You can just
it's
dive right in.
Yep, completely waterproof. You just dunk it in and
you're ready to go.
Yep, ready to go.
Okay, so let's get to one of my favorite topics, lenses. This is kind of an interesting collaboration. So basically, Canon created a set of lenses a while back called the Cines, and that's Cine and then the letter E. Actually, I don't even think it was spelled that way. I think it was CNE or something. Or something silly like that.
Crazy.
But anyway, they were. First of all, they were EF lenses, which I don't really shoot Canon. I don't have anything against Canon. I just, I have very rarely come across Canon cameras. So even back in the C300 days, I was but anyway, the point is that it was kind of limited to that
Here
mount.
it is. I found it. It's the Canon CN-E.
Yep.
That's how you say it.
Like I said, they were getting a little cheeky there, but you know. But anyway, they only sold them in their E-mount lens, so not even the RF or whatever their new mount is. My problem with them was that they were a little too good. They were extremely sharp, had very good color rendition, almost no flare. And so in a lot of ways, the best way that I could describe it is being very clinical. So if you were doing a research project, this is the lens for you.
Yeah.
Carl Zeiss made a set of compact primes which were the same way. And this comes out of an era of lens making where lens manufacturers are trying to make the best lens ever. And the problem is that in filmmaking, especially when it comes to storytelling, I can't emphasize this enough. There's no such thing as the perfect lens or the greatest lens ever or whatever. It is all dependent on the story you're telling. And you will choose artifacts from lenses that help best tell your story. That is the right way to approach lens choices. Anyway, Duclos decided that they were going to try to add a few artifacts to these lenses because there's obviously people love the K35 lenses, which cannot be manufactured anymore because they're radioactive.
Literally. There's a radioactive coating.
Right,
on
the coating
glass.
is radioactive. It's within safe levels, but still, that's why probably one of the reasons why you cannot get this made anymore. So, using some clever modern optics, they they basically detuned the lenses too close and created the V35s instead of the K35s. And there is a difference, obviously, because I did a test, and we'll show you that here in a minute, where we tested the lenses against each other. And so the V35s definitely have a slightly warmer look and a slightly softer look. I personally really like what Duclos did. I really like these lenses. In fact, I'm gonna go out and say that I kind of like them a little bit more than the K35s or the FD lenses. I know that might be blasphemous for some people. I will say that the K35s and FD lenses do have more interesting flare characteristics if that's what you're going for. Sometimes it's not. So this is definitely a more modern lens with a vintage look, which I like that approach. And it's PL mount, so they got rid of the EF mount, so it is now PL.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting because, like I said, I worked at a rental house for 3 years. I definitely came across the K35s.
Yeah, they're nice
a
lenses,
couple times,
but
and
$250,000 for those.
Yeah, they are some super nice lenses, but yeah, they are quite expensive, and yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's hard for me to justify the cost of that. I mean, I think they're great lenses, but I don't know if I agree with that price point. It's just my personal opinion. Like I said, lenses are very subjective, but I will say that I do like what Duclos did here.
Yeah, and it seems to me here, as I'm looking through the website, it seems that you can send in your lenses
to
get them V35'd, as you say. So, I guess, how does that process work, or what actually goes into that? So they basically just take the elements out of the lens that you give them, they rehouse them, and
no, actually this is the original housing. So we noticed actually on the V35s that if you look closely at the silver ring on the front, you can kind of see where the original cine etching was. So they basically just lathed it out and put in so it is the original cine housings, but they add another lens element, and then they change the barrel optics so it's not quite as. In order to introduce flaring in the housing, they take off the black coating off one of the sections of the barrel to allow a little bit more light scattering in there. So.
Gotcha.
Again, they're trying to go for that more vintage look because older lenses do have more flaring than modern lenses. However, because of the modern lens coatings on the cine lenses, they're not going to flare as much as the original K35s and FD lenses. But again, that is a subjective thing and something that you have to. I would definitely go to a rental house and look at the difference between lenses and decide if it's going to work for your project. But if you were going to buy a lens set, I would say go for it, unless you happen to have $250,000 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, sure. Personally, I think there's other lenses that you could buy for that amount of money, but they're still pretty popular.
Yeah. Well, you definitely go out and
test them
if not just to test them out, just to see how they are.
Right. And see if they work. Again, these are a set of lenses that are going to tell your story. So the question you got to ask yourself is this going to help tell the story?
Exactly. And that should be, like I said, we said in the last few episodes, it all comes down to how you're telling your story, because it all hinders back to the story.
Right.
That's the most important thing.